Here we go, guys. Let's see if we can do this a little better than last week. I want to welcome everybody to Coffee with Jim, the live stream edition. And if you may have noticed on Podbean, Coffee with Jim, we're doing something a little bit different, some pre recorded programs. Sure like to hear your opinion on that as well. Today, we're going to be visiting with Wade Bray of the AAA Route 66 Road Fest in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's coming up on June 27th and 28th. And there are lots of Route 66 Centennial events taking place right now on Route 66. But I got to tell you, Road Fest is definitely should be added to your list. This is a first-rate event, and it's air conditioned, and it takes place in Tulsa. Those are both all great bonus points. And if you do this right, plan your trip around Road Fest, and you'll be able to get some other stops in along the way, some other events, and some other activities, perhaps. This is going to be kind of I've got a whole bunch of things we want to try to get through this morning, and let's see if we can get this. Good morning. See if we can get Wade going. We'll call him pretty soon. I want to talk about some great new books. If you're a Route 66 enthusiast, you're probably familiar with this little book that was published by Jack Rittenhouse in 1946. And if you're like me, you don't know much about Jack Rittenhouse aside from what's in that book. Now, we have a new book, A Western Literary Life by David Farmer, story of Jack Rittenhouse. This is going to be pretty darn spectacular. I'm just getting started on it. I'm really impressed. This is put out by University of New Mexico Press. I'll have details up on the website soon. So let's, without further ado, let's try seeing if we can get Mr. Wade Bray on the phone, and we'll move this thing along a tad bit.
Hello.
Hey, good morning, Mr. Wade.
Good morning. How are you?
You know, I was going to have you call me, but I thought it'd surprise you. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing okay. Once I figured out how time zones work, I've been doing fine.
Well,
I had in my head that it was just 1 hour.
Yeah, well, Kingman is, I get confused. Kingman is, well, here in Arizona, what we do is we don't bother this daylight savings time. So basically half the year we're on Pacific Standard Time, and the other half of the year we are on Mountain Standard or Pacific, depending on when you talk to us. It gets
Okay, so some of the time you are only an hour different, and
Yeah.
the other part of the time you are too. Okay, I feel better now.
Yeah, Kingman, Arizona doesn't really move. It just seems like we do.
Just everybody else does around you.
Yeah. And you know, it's interesting. Speaking of time zones, I was just talking about this new book by Jack Rittenhouse. And I don't know the deal why this is, but in his guidebook to Highway 66, published in 1946, the dividing line between Mountain Time and Pacific Time, what used to be in Seligman, Arizona. It wasn't on the state
Really?
line. Yeah. So I don't know what the heck that was about.
That's wild.
Well, last week I had a couple of problems. We're having to migrate this thing off Podbean, and we're doing something different. So typical Jim Hinckley fashion, we just pretend we know what we're doing, and we keep trying here. Hey, we're just weeks away, and I know there are tons and tons of Route 66 Centennial events, but there's only one Road Fest in Tulsa, and those are two very good reasons to plan a Route 66 trip at the end of June.
Absolutely. You know, we're in our 5th year and really excited. I mean, this was the goal, you know, from the start of this project When AAA first came to us back in the fall of 2019, the goal was to create this event and build towards the Centennial and have the big party for the Centennial, and we made it. I mean, we're here now, so it's really exciting. We've added a lot of stuff this year. If you've been to Road Fest before, there's going to be lots of things you recognize, but there's a lot of new things to see this year. So.
Well, I am always excited that this is a great family event. That's something that I'm really big on, things that you can do with the whole family, from grandpa all the way down to the toddlers. And the other thing that makes this really neat, of course, it is in Tulsa, which is pretty exciting, but it's air conditioned.
Yeah. If you've never been to Tulsa in June or July, you maybe don't realize how much that is a selling point. It gets pretty steamy around here in the summer, so it's huge. And I think especially for the car people, there's a lot of car shows that go on. But most of them are outside, and so in the summer, it's pretty brutal. I mean, it's like you would really have to want to be looking at those cars, especially, out in a parking lot somewhere. You're standing on asphalt and your tennis shoes are melting onto the ground. And, so yeah, it's great. We have, it's much bigger than a car show you would see in a normal place. But also the air conditioning is a huge factor in drawing people for that as well. So it's good. It's really good.
Well, not only do you have the great indoor car show and a good exhibit of vintage travel trailers, or caravans as they call them in the UK, but you've got these incredible exhibits that you've created that are interactive time capsules for the different periods of Route 66. The people that come from all over to highlight what's going on Route 66 in their states, and music, people beating their gums, people like me. And gosh darn it, Wade, you got a great multifaceted 2-day event here.
Well, you've hit the sweet spot for me. I'm very biased about the Journey, which is our historical exhibits that you mentioned, and that's like my fourth child. So that's my baby. So when we first started the project, the creation of that, I've always been a history nerd, and I love to learn about new things. And so, I had like a basic understanding of Route 66 because I was born and raised in Tulsa, and it runs through the middle of town. So, obviously aware of it and had, a certain amount of knowledge, but not nearly enough to build a 20,000 square foot exhibit. So I read a lot of books and articles, several of which were written by yourself, and, tried to take in as much information as possible with the goal of, creating something that people of all ages and all levels of interest, would be able to come and find something. And, just because I'm a history nerd and love to go to a museum and I'll read every word on a wall, not everyone is like that. And so I really wanted to make it as immersive as I possibly could, and give people that maybe aren't the history nerd an opportunity to find something to connect to. So I really worked off the principle of, if I was going to walk through this with my grandmother, my mom, and my kids, what needs to be in there for each one of them to be able to find something to, lock onto for, 5, 10, 15 minutes. And, I feel like for the most part, we've managed to do that. It's super gratifying. You mentioned being a family thing. For me personally, the most gratifying thing that happens at these events is seeing these multi-generational groups walking through, and you've got the grandparent pointing at something and explaining to their grandchild, how that relates to their life, or we went there, or we had that car, or whatever it is. And then kids actually asking questions. It's not the easiest thing to engage a kid these days because they have so much at their fingertips all the time to entertain them. And it's been really interesting to see how they are fascinated by some of the most analog things you could possibly come up with. There's not much more analog than a Model T. and to
Yeah.
for these kids now where everything is a touchpad, it's a screen that you can touch and manipulate to see things with levers and gears, and you have to turn, and it's like they are fascinated by that. So it's really cool. It's one of those things that when you're sitting in your room staring at a computer for hundreds and hundreds of hours, and then you get to actually see people interact with it, it's a really cool feeling. I'm kind of addicted to it now.
Well, that's one of the things that makes this such a great event is the static displays museums. That's not going to work. And when you engage, if you want to engage younger people, and of course I'm talking about real young, under 20. For at my age, anybody under 50, I refer to as the kids. But you engage them by making it real, tangible, something they can touch, interact with. I know there's a museum in Michigan that started a Model T driving school, and they were really surprised that some of the people most interested were 16 to 30-year-olds. So what you've done with this is you've tapped into that. You've tapped into a way to make this real and relevant. And and the other thing I like about the exhibits, you give them enough information that they want to know more, and the way they learn more is to get out on the road.
Well, exactly. Obviously AAA is the presenting sponsor of this, and they're the ones that really kind of initiated this project to begin with. And their business is cars on the road, whether that's through insurance or through roadside or whatever you use it for.
Mhm.
But that's always been one of the main tenets of the whole thing, is we want people to appreciate the history and be fascinated by what's happened in the past as a stage setting to get in your car, get out there and go see it. And you've got things up and down the route, out in your neck of the woods. Obviously there's things going on out there, and here they've just done a big refurb on the Blue Whale, and up and down the route there's all kinds of things to see. And that's really been the hope, is that we can intrigue people enough that they will actually get in the car and drive, because you can make a great exhibit, but there's no substitute for seeing it with your own eyes.
No, yeah, this is such a great event, and I know the Centennial edition is going to be wonderful. And you mentioned bridging. We talked about bridging generational gaps. Having Michael Wallace there is a great example. Here's a fellow, the voice of the sheriff. I mean, in Cars, and yet he also is really one of the cornerstones for the Route 66 Renaissance movement with his book, Route 66, Mother Road, and his other projects. And being able to sit and listen to him talk about his association with Route 66 and what the road means, that's a unique opportunity that will inspire generations to get out and explore.
For sure. We've been so spoiled by the fact that Michael lives here in Tulsa. And so and he's been incredibly gracious every year to come out and spend time. And, he's going to be there again this year. There's a new edition of the Route 66 book, as well as his newest book. And he'll be out there signing books, as will you. And we've been so just incredibly fortunate to have the buy-in right out of the gate from people like yourself and Michael and Joe Sonderman, to come and sit and spend their time. I mean, you guys are the guys. You're I always refer to you guys as the Mount Rushmore of Route 66, because you're the ones that have told the stories and brought it back to life. And anything that I've been able to create from this has come from what I learned from you guys. And so I just could not be more grateful for your participation and what you guys bring to our presentation stage, which is one of my favorite parts of the whole event.
Well, telling stories is something I've been told I can do that for hours, even if I'm the only one in the room and still enjoying myself. But my work with Route 66, as far as writing and speaking, I've built it on the shoulders of some giants that you're going to have at this event. Jim Ross and and Michael Wallace and Jerry McClanahan and some of these fellas. They're really the foundation for this. And so for me, it's a very distinct honor to be associated with them and linked with them at this event. And as far as book signings, yeah, Magic City Books will be there again this year.
Absolutely. They've been great. They've always supported what we're doing. And, they're really gracious in getting the collection of books together. We'll pull together our stage and then call them up and say, okay, here's all the stuff we need, and they've always been incredibly kind to pull the books together and get them staged over there so that people can come and listen to you guys and then get the book signed, which is, that's one of the best parts. So,
Oh, we can do something really special here. I'll get a hold of Magic City Books. I probably should talk to them first, but what I'll do is we'll talk about it and then I'll have to do it because, well, now it's public knowledge. But my new book, The Route 66 100 Years, is an anthology. And I wrote this with some great people, Reese Martin of the Oklahoma Route 66 Association, Cheryl Eicher Jett, Joe Sonderman, Greg Hassman, Dries Bessels. And quite a few of us will be at this event. And this would be a great opportunity, a rare opportunity for someone to get a book and have 3, 4, 5 of the authors all add their signatures.
Absolutely. Yeah, that would be great. And we're going to have Cheryl on the stage talking about her latest book as well. And it's really, the roundtable thing that we're doing on Sunday is really exciting. That's something that we've wanted to do from the first year. And just logistically, this is the first time we've been able to kind of make it work. And so that's something I personally am really excited about because that's just not something we've been able to do before. And that's part of the challenge when you're doing an annual event is, keeping it fresh enough that people that come every year can find something new to get excited about. And, we do have several things this year that are going to be brand new, and I'm really excited about that. And one of the things that we're doing is called the Rear View Project, and it's people are going to be able to sit in the back of a classic car, and they'll be filmed talking about their favorite Route 66 stories, and that's something we can collect and then put out into some of the archives that exist out there. That's going to be really cool. We actually have a flying car that's going to be there this year, which I am of an age that, I have been complaining about the lack of flying cars. I feel like the Jetsons promised me as a child. And now finally we've got one. So there will be a flying car there for people to check out. And we're still working on the details of that. We are hoping that maybe we can do a demonstration outdoor each day so people can see how it works, but it will be there. They let people sit in it and they explain how it works, and it's really cool. So that's another thing that we're doing this year.
Now, those were made in the late 50s, early 60s, as I recall. It was kind of a brilliant idea, if this is the car I'm thinking of. But in any case, like you said, I too have felt gypped because so many things that I was promised in the Jetsons, never came true. But
well, I'll tell you this, I've got a robot vacuum and it doesn't work nearly as well as Rosie, and it's very disappointing. So I'm still striving to reach, Jetsons level right now. So,
well, that's another thing about Road Fest that's so spectacular. You don't shy away from the future of Route 66. It's not, there's no myopia at this event. It is the past. It is the present, but it's also the future of Route 66. And with electric vehicles and other technologies that are changing the way we experience the road. And I just, this is great. It's just a near perfect blending. And the other thing I like about Road Fest is it's one of the few events I'm aware of where you feel as you've got the infectious magic that is key to a Route 66 experience. You've got it right here in one location.
Well, that's one of the things that I'm proudest of with this event too, is that, from day one, I reached out to all the states, the state historic associations, the travel and tourism, different towns and cities along the way, and kind of told them what I was doing and trying to really reiterate that it was about the entire route. It wasn't just because I'm located in Tulsa and the event was going to be in Tulsa. It's not a Tulsa or Oklahoma thing. It's a route thing. And I mean, very well, better than most, that it's not always the easiest thing to get a bunch of different people on board with the same deal. And so, from the first year, we offered free booth space to all of the state representatives to come and have a booth and be able to talk about what's going on with the route in their state. And, the first year we had some decent buy-in, but as it's gone on, we've built and built. And I think this year we're actually going to have representation from not just all of the state associations, but there are a lot of iconic locations, motels, and, things of that nature along the way that have booths too. So, right in the center of the journey is the Route 66 community. And another little spin that we've done this year for the first time is we're going to have, with Route 66 being the main street of America, we're going to have Main Street running right down the middle of our event. And there's a branch off of that is Cyrus Avery Boulevard. And if you turn on to Cyrus Avery Boulevard, so to speak, you've got the Route 66 community right there. And that is all of these entities represented in one place. And so if you are interested in making a trip, but you're not exactly sure how you want to do it or what you want to see along the way, it's a one-stop place to go. And you can literally talk to people from every state, and they can give you an idea of what they recommend, on your trip. And so, there's so many things to see. So it's really nice to be able to get, some advice from somebody from each of the states to kind of say, well, here's what I would check out if I were doing it. So we love that part of it.
Well, this is another exciting aspect of not just the event, but driving to this event this year. Being the 250th anniversary of the United States, I can't think of a better place to experience and discover America and learn about America than on the main street of America, Route 66. And as far as people, not getting along, playing well, and then coming together and trying to round up the cats, if you think of Route 66 in the context of America's longest small town, it makes more sense. In any small town, you've got people who never learn to play well with each other. They're worried about their corners. But when it comes time to help each other, when it comes time to support each other, they put aside those differences and they come together. And that's Route 66 in general, America's longest small town. And you capture that perfectly at Roadfest.
Well, being from Oklahoma, we're kind of known for being, a friendly state, friendly communities. Getting out and traveling, I told you, when I met you back in Needles, California at that info fair all those years ago, we had spoken through email, but never met face to face. And Mike Ward was there as well. And I got there early and started doing my setup, and you guys weren't there yet. But when I walked through the space, kind of looking at who I was going to be there, I was still very new to Route 66. And, I was, did not know a quarter of what, of what I would eventually learn or what you guys knew already. But both you and Mike have been incredibly gracious in helping me put this thing together without ever meeting me. And Joe Sonderman as well. I think Joe was my connecting point to Mike for sure. And I show up at this thing and I'm like, I was very much not sure what to expect. And when I got there and saw that you and Mike were both going to be there, I was like, oh, wow, this would be really cool. Like, I'm going to actually get to meet these people that I've, talked to through email. And at that point, Mike had sent me, I think, at least one vintage map from each one of the states for me to scan and incorporate into some of the design of the journey. And I was actually a little nervous about it, and so when you guys actually showed up, you were so incredibly kind and gracious and, invited me to come out with you guys after the setup. And, it was kind of at that moment where I realized that spirit of the route, the thing that we associate with the classic days of Route 66, it's still alive in these communities, this Route 66 community. And you guys really embody that. And I could not tell you how much I appreciate how willing you were to take me in and just, it's been amazing. It's been incredibly gratifying. So,
Well, now I need a bigger hat. My head's swelled up here, but no, that's the thing. I like say again, and looking at it in the context of America's longest small town, if you look at it from that perspective, yeah, people don't play well. They gripe their grandpa did something, and so I can't play with his kids, whatever. But when people ask for help, the small town comes together. People pull together, and that's really the essence of. You've kind of distilled the Route 66 experience in this event. And for the seasoned Route 66 traveler or the obsessed fan of Route 66, Road Fest is great. It's just spectacular. And if you're a newbie, you have no idea why in God's name people are obsessed over a road that doesn't officially exist. This is a great place to find out why.
I think so, and I think that the way that the way that Roadfest came together, and again, a lot of it through the work and collaboration of those of you that have been working on it far beyond me. But I think it's been nice in that as the storyteller for this particular event, it's kind of coming from my point of view, and partly because of the delay that COVID caused in us getting this put together. We were supposed to launch this in 2021, and it did not happen because of COVID. And at the time, it was incredibly disappointing. But in the end, I'm so glad that it took a little bit longer, because it's a much better event than it would have been had it launched then, because I got to spend a lot more time with the community and I got to learn more. And what I was able to do was kind of share my experience with the people that come to the show. And so kind of as I learned it, I started to incorporate those things in. And I just don't think it would have been as strong an event had it happened that year before, because a lot of the heavy lifting and the infrastructure was already in place. So that extra year was really kind of the seasoning for the whole thing, and the experience that I got to have by running around. And I drove to St. Louis and sat in the basement with Joe Sullivan at his house and spent half a day there, and I got things from that went into Roadfest that wouldn't have happened had I not had that extra time. So sometimes disappointment turns into a positive, and this is definitely one of those cases.
Well, you've got there's so many great things. Joey Medea, he's always a delight, and the work that he's poured into creating Cyrus Avery, bringing Cyrus Avery to life, his attention to detail, having Jim Ross and Shelley Graham. Yeah, this is just such a multifaceted event. I just really can't say enough. And this isn't a paid endorsement. It's I want to make that clear. It's not a paid endorsement, but it's just something I believe in. I really think this is important. We talk about the 250th anniversary of the United States. This is an amazing country. But it's we've got a controversial history and an inspirational history and a fascinating history and a multicultural history. And this all comes together on Route 66, and it's distilled at this event. I know one year you had a fantastic exhibit on the Green Book for Negro Motorist. I thought that I was really impressed that you did that. That was just delightful.
Well, each year, like I said, we try to upgrade and update, and we're doing something a little bit different this year with the Green Book part. And we've done that a couple of times. We've had Mike McCusick, who's a great local, history nerd like myself, who's spent a lot of time working on that Green Book story, and we're working with him again to do a slightly different experience than what we've done before. So really excited to see how that turns out as well. And that was one of the things when we first started talking about doing this show and talking about building the historical exhibit. to AAA's credit, at the end of the day, they are a corporation.
Sure.
Corporations, generally speaking, are not big fans of controversy, and they want to be safe. And but when I took this on, I did say to them, look, I really want to tell this story for you, but if we're going to tell it, we're going to tell the whole story. And that means we're going to also have to talk about some warts and blemishes that people don't like to always talk about. And that is things like the Green Book. And, it's not always a rosy story for everyone. And to their credit, they said, yeah, if you think that's important, then let's do it. And they have allowed me to tell that story. And I think that strengthens the message. I think when you try to edit and, revise history to make it, I don't know, more palatable, however you want to term that, you're missing something. And sometimes out of struggle and out of adversity come positive things. And I think the thing that I love about the Green Book story is the response to that. The Black community in America were challenged with something, and they stepped up in a way that is unbelievably impressive in the face of some, true adversity, and did incredibly entrepreneurial things. I mean, Victor Green himself, just by creating the Green Book, that was an amazing step of entrepreneurship. But along the route and all over America, not just along the route, but all over America, Black families opened their homes to people. In huge part, it was the women of that community that really did the heavy lifting on this, preparing food, making the homes available for rooms to rent. And I think there was a lot of strength gained from responding to that adversity. And that's why that story is so great to tell. If it were only the negative, it'd be a real downer.
Yeah.
But to see the adversity and then the response, that's the beautiful thing out of that story to me.
Well, when we start diluting history because it's uncomfortable or we have a political agenda or whatever reason, I mean, to me, that's like sitting down for a hearty meal of gluten-free bread with, egg substitute and margarine and sugar-free jam on white paper plates. Yeah, it's edible, but it's just not very good. It's just, you lose too much. Wade, I want to thank you, not only for taking time this morning, because I know right now you're probably busier than a one-legged man in a behind kicking contest, but I just want to thank you for your dedication to this project and the keeping it going. And I realize with the Centennial, this is supposed to be the swan song for Road Fest, but I think I know you too well, and this is such an amazing event. There's going to have to be a revised version. It's going to have to become a road show. I don't know how you're going to do that, but it's real easy to tell people, God, here you go. Here's a great project for you. But I really hope that that's something that comes to fruition, because this is something that's really needed, and I'd like to see it keep going.
Well, I'll tell you, we've been working really hard to keep it alive in one form or another. And, Ken Busby, who's been an amazing, partner in this project from day one. And Ken and I have really been at it trying to figure out, like, what is the next step? Like, what is the extension of the life of this project? And we're still working on it. We're not giving up. Obviously, I will say, if there's anybody out there that has, thoughts on that and, maybe has an idea, we are all ears. But I do think that there's a future for it. There's something out there, and we just don't quite know yet what it is, but we will figure it out. And, this thing has seen a lot of eyeballs, but not enough, in my opinion. And
sure.
So we're going to keep pushing and see what we can come up with.
Wade, thank you for this morning. I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody. I'm looking forward to the road trip. And as folks know, everything's subject to change. I think we really learned that during COVID. But barring accidental death or something horrible, I'm going to be there. So I hope to see everybody there because this is going to be fun. It's going to be a great weekend.
Absolutely. Well, it wouldn't be the same without you. Like I said, we have been so fortunate to have yourself and
Thank
Joe
you.
and Michael there. And it just, it obviously adds a lot to our event. And we're really grateful for you making the trip. I know that's not the easiest trip in the world.
No, but yeah. And, like I say, I'm starting to realize I'm not 20 anymore. I've come to that realization lately. I'm looking 70 right square in the eye. So it has changed a few things about travel. That's for sure.
Yeah, unfortunately, what is the phrase? Time waits for no man. Like it is definitely. It's definitely something that we get reminded of all the time, but just keep plugging. I know you're not going to stop anytime soon. So.
No, but you get these. The other thing about this event is the inspiration that you get from this. And real brief, I won't kind of digress too much. Well, we wish you were there too. We've got folks that says thank you to Wade. Good luck with the Road Fest. We wish you were there. We've even got folks from Italy this morning and from East Lansing, Michigan. Speaking of inspiration, getting old. This last week, I had the privilege of meeting with Joe Barr and his film crew. They're coming through Tulsa pretty soon. And Joe Barr, Route 66, there's a QR code, and need followers on Instagram. And I have his book, Going the Distance. Joe is currently on the road, and an inspirational story. And Route 66 is the road of dreams. It always has been. And Road Fest was a dream for you. But Joe's dream, he's been doing ultra cycling events for 50 years. He's currently attempting to set a nonstop cycling world record on Route 66. He's hoping to run from Santa Monica Pier to Chicago by bicycle in 8 days.
Oh my God.
And for his 66th birthday, he wants to celebrate his 67th birthday. He wants to arrive on his 67th birthday in Chicago.
That makes me feel very lazy.
Oh my gosh. I don't know when I met with that guy, I didn't know whether to be inspired or depressed.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, that's 8 days.
8 days.
Okay, well, he's a better man than I.
Yeah, that's
I'm exhausted just thinking about it, and that's amazing.
Wade, again, thank you, and we'll be seeing you real soon now.
I'm looking forward to it. As always, we're going to have a great time, and I hope that to be able to see Roadfest in its original form, this is possibly your last opportunity. So if you have not seen it yet, I really hope that you'll be able to make it out. I'm incredibly proud of it. I'm unbelievably grateful for the opportunity that AAA gave me in being able to build this thing. It's been a project of a lifetime, and the experiences and people that I have met along the way, it's been amazing. So I really hope to see as many people out there as we can possibly get, and it's going to be a great weekend, and obviously looking forward to hanging out with you as always.
Well, let's see if we can break this attendance record this year, Wade.
That'd be great. I mean, I think, certainly that's always been kind of the thought, is that it would build each year, and for the most part it has. And so it would be really gratifying. Obviously there will be some executives of the AAA organization that are coming out to see it, and I would love for them to see the results of their commitment. I think that's one thing that we've maybe not talked about enough over the years, is that AAA's business, they're not in the event business. They're not based in Tulsa. They took on this project at incredible expense, and it's been a lot of work for them in an area that is not their normal thing. And the gift that they've given to the city of Tulsa and to the Route 66 community is really amazing. And I don't think they've necessarily received the credit that they deserve for that. And like I said, from a personal standpoint, I am unbelievably grateful, because again, the experiences that I've had and the people that I've met you know, are just, it's incredible. And I could never have dreamed when this thing started that it would have turned out to be this thing that it has become. And aside from being a really great resume piece for me, it's really been a labor of love. And like I said, it just would not have happened without, them coming to us and saying, we want to do this. And so, again, just incredibly grateful to them, and 5 years of a labor of love, but done in a way that, I just couldn't have dreamed in the beginning we'd be able to pull it off. So.
Well, Wade, thank you. And thank you for taking time this morning. I really appreciate this. And, we'll see you in Tulsa, my friend.
That sounds great. I'm looking forward to it. We'll have fun on that presentation stage and hopefully get to hang out a little around that too. So.
The good news is, Wade, when this is all said and done, you won't have to look for an excuse for drinking.
That is so true. And, one of the things that I really am wanting to do is I want to get back out there and go see Angel again, and just spend a little bit of time in Kingman just for fun. All of the trips that I've made out there up to this point, there's been a certain amount of work involved.
Yep.
And I'm really looking forward to just getting in the car with my wife and trekking out there and just, seeing everything for fun,
Right. I'm going to have to try that sometime.
Yeah, you really should. There's a lot of cool stuff. I don't know if you're aware of this, but there's a lot of really cool things on Route 66. I don't know if you knew that or not, but yeah, there's really a lot of things you should go check out.
But it's the people. That's what really makes this trip special. Route 66 and Road Fest. It's the people. Take time, talk to the people, listen to the people, and that's what'll make this trip unbelievable for you.
I couldn't agree more.
My friend, we will see you soon.
All right, sounds good. Take care.
Bye-bye, Wade. Thank you. Well, Road Fest. It's going to be a lot of fun. It looks like we're going to be doing a book signing there. I'll get that all set up. And I'm going to give you a couple quick things here real quick. As you can see, we're still working on this, trying to get Coffee with Jim going again on a new platform. We're learning together as we go. That's one reason it's a shared adventure. We are still continuing programs on Podbean, Coffee with Jim Podbean. But if you'll notice, like this last week, the last couple of days ago, we're doing a weekly program recorded on all kinds of things. And as a teaser, the last program, if you go to Coffee with Jim Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcast, you look for the last episode was Coffee with Jim, bathtubs, bird cages, and Chevrolet. What do those all have in common? I'll give you something to think about. Also want to give a shout out, Marion Pavel and the team at Touch Media. The Route 66 navigation folks have got the Route 66 Centennial Passport. It's available at a lot of shops up and down Route 66, and can also find it at Route66passport.com, Route66navigation.com, or information on this as well as at historic66.com. We were talking about the family, getting the family out on the road. Well, the Annie Mouse series of books, ideal, perfect to get the family involved. And now Annie Mouse has an activity book. And this is really kind of neat. So get the kids involved. I want to give a shout for that. I mentioned the new book from University Press by David Farmer from University of New Mexico Press, story of Jack Rittenhouse. And Rittenhouse, for the Route 66 community, is best known for a guidebook to Highway 66. And I've only into the first chapter, and this is an incredible inspirational story. And I mentioned, speaking of inspiration, Joe Barr. Wow, if you get a chance to see him on the road, cheer him on. And I'd like to recommend his book, Going the Distance, Joe Barr. Another great read. And I think that kind of catches us up on everything this week. Next week, I think we're going to be talking about The Beale Wagon Road, the first federally funded highway in the Southwest. But we're going to be doing something a little different. We're going to be talking to somebody who has a personal connection to that road and the camel caravan of Beale. Guys, I want to thank you for your patience, your perseverance, and for joining us at this little virtual diner that we're putting together here at Coffee with Jim. And speaking of Coffee with Jim, I guess you might have noticed this. The official Coffee with Jim mugs. Now you might ask, where can I get one of these? Well, if you happen to be in Kingman, Arizona, looking for a good meal and a coffee mug, Calico's Restaurant. They have signed copies of my books as well as Coffee with Jim mugs. And for international shipping anywhere in the United States, you can order online through the Kingman Main Street Talisman Magic Marketing Kingman Tours website gift shop. They've got a real extensive Route 66 Centennial gift shop. The website is www.kingman.tours. And this is a Kingman Main Street project, as well as it's a narrated, self-guided historic district walking tour. And it's also a virtual walking tour. So if you're incarcerated and you have internet access, you can still take a tour of Kingman. My friends, I want to thank you. If anybody has any questions, drop me a note through Jim Hinckley's America. My email is jimhinckleysamerica.com. I'd love to hear from you. We'll be talking about the programs upcoming. We are moving this forward, but now we're expanding. We're using Substack as a hub for all things Jim Hinckley's America. And like I said, we have now 2 programs, Coffee with Jim, the live stream virtual diner where you join us. And we have the pre-recorded programs that are built around a simple premise that my pa taught me. Better to fill the head with useless knowledge than no knowledge at all. So check it out. And I'd like to know what you think about bathtubs, bird cages, and Chevrolet. We got something new going there. Always something new at Jim Hinckley's America. That's for sure. I'll keep you posted on my itinerary. I'm not sure how this is all going to work out yet, the trip to Tulsa. But if our paths cross, perhaps we can get a cup of coffee or grab a plate of food and do a bit of visiting, talk about road trips. And I guess that's about it. Until we meet again, I will bid you adios. And yes, please, what do you got to put in the idea book catalog? I'm always curious about this. It's our good friends at S&H Green Stamps. That is a great, oh my gosh. You got it. S&H Green Stamps is coming back just in time for the Centennial, just in time for America's 250th anniversary. And that's about as American. The S&H Green Stamp story is an American story. So I'm curious what you got in the idea book catalog. I like that reference, by the way, the idea book. S&H Green Stamps for you youngsters was just a brilliant way to support community and your local businesses. And it's been revived. And now the emphasis is really being placed on helping foster development of a sense of community and supporting community. So check out S&H Green Stamps. Let's see what we got here. He says, yes, can I put one in the idea book catalog? Yes, please. I would like that. Anybody else have ideas or suggestions? Got a couple minutes here. I don't mind talking about some ideas. Well, thank you. Got a little text message here. Yeah, okay. For lodging in Kingman, taking advantage of Kingman tours, I got 2 places for you. But if you want something really, really special and unique, check out Tin Can Alley on 66. It's a a blending of the past and the present. Check out their website, but it's fully modern, but with the illusion that you stepped into the 1950s. You stepped into the trailer camps, the long trailer with Desi and Lucy. And best of all, it is right downtown Kingman, with literally within walking distance, central location, 5 blocks in any direction. All the museums, restaurants, wine bars, microbreweries, the Beale Street Theater, great performing arts center, the Kingman Tours walking district, the 1906 Saloon, all within just a few blocks. So Tin Can Alley on 66. Yeah, that's my recommendation for lodging. The other would be the Arizona Inn downtown. It's a renovated 1964 motel. I will find out more about what the folks at SNH Green Stamps, because he's really piqued my curiosity here, and we'll see what they come up with. Well, thank you guys again. Spread the word. Feel free to share this program, share the link. The same with our programs on Podbean. And become a follower, subscriber. I'd really appreciate it. Once we get the subscriber numbers up here on YouTube, we got some big plans, as usual. Hey, our community is growing. And I do consider this a community of folks who are passionate about road trips and the American story. You know, our Jim Hinckley's America Facebook page is just spitting distance of the 15,000 follower mark. And we've had 2 months this year where the reach and engagement of our network has exceeded 600,000 people. Pretty impressive, isn't it? We got quite the little community going, my friends. Shared adventures, each and every one. Folks, I hope you'll join us again next week. And it looks like I'm working on it. I'll be able to tell you in a day or so. We're going to probably talk about the Beale Wagon Road. It's going to be a lot of fun. My friends, until we meet again, I will bid you adios. Oh, yes, let's chat. Hope to see you on the road this summer. Let's chat when you have a chance. Oh my, now I'm excited. SNH Green Stamps. Can't wait to hear this conversation. You know what we need to probably do? Well, we'll talk about this, but I think we need a program about SNH Green Stamps. Just my thoughts. My friends, take care, and we will see you soon. Adios, my friends.